Hi, welcome back. I'm Raquel. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be doing a book review of To Walk the Night by E.S. Moore. This is a male author. I think why he initialed his name because a lot of male writers, like in romance or urban fantasy, sometimes do this same thing as female authors, depending on what they're writing in, shorten their name or use their initials, so that they basically, you don't really know until you look up the author if it's a male or female. But this is a male author. There was some bad reviews on it, basically saying that Kat Redding isn't a very good female character. But I will say that I gave this a 3.5 on Goodreads, but I boosted up to 4. This is a book about Kat Redding. She's a vampire who hunts her own kind. She also hunts werewolves as well. Basically, if you like the movies Underworld, you will like this. There isn't really a love story to this one, unlike in Underworld. At the end, there might be the start of something, but not really. This is the first book in a series. I believe it's 5 books long. The 5th book is due to come out this year sometime. I believe that's all he's writing, as far as I know anyways. This is a series that I would like to continue, but it's not my top priority. So if I do continue it, it'll probably be after a long while. Like I said, it was good, but it wasn't my favorite. But anyway, it's about Kat Redding. She's a vampire hunter / vampire. I do like it that she questions her own morals during the whole story. She, after, going to each vampire house, she questions whether or not she's becoming too much of a monster. Too much like the people that she kills. And since she's a vampire, she does need to kill for food. It doesn't really explain. It kind of explains that they do feed off of, like, human slaves that the vampire houses catch. So I don't think if they bite, the human turns. I know that she said that vampire bite does hurt no matter what. There's no, like, the saliva doesn't numb it, or, the vampire doesn't have the mind tricks to, make it feel, like, pleasurable when they bite. So it hurts every time. And there are people that, will feed a vampire willingly still, but she doesn't understand why they do. For her to feed, she goes and kills bad people. And in this world, they have it where vampires and werewolves have come out, and basically no one is safe at night. Werewolves can both hunt in day and nighttime, of course, but these vampires are strictly at night. So basically, if you're out past night, you're game for anybody. And no one's not really doing anything about it. She wasn't born a vampire or anything. She was originally a human. She had a brother and a family, and she was a vampire hunter, and her brother got caught. She accidentally had, like, driver's license on her, or, you know, something that told about her home address. The vampire house that did catch her slaughters her entire family and her brother, and, well, I'm not sure if they slaughtered her. It's not really depicted well whether or not the brother is dead or is this other beast where he's a vampire slash werewolf. And in this story also, werewolves are basically slaves to the vampires. And in this book, humans are basically called purebloods. And they talk about the taint of the blood when you're either a werewolf or a vampire. And throughout this, when she was turned into a vampire, her brother let her escape, and also was a human or pureblood. And she lives with this human guy. The guy's name is Ethan, and he is like a technological wizard with technology and stuff, and creating her weapons for her. Basically, they kind of have like a working partnership. There is no sexual tension really between them. You do find out a little bit more about Ethan, and I'm curious to know a little bit more about him and see it in the second. I'm more curious about him for the second book than mainly any other character, because in this book you find out something and it's just like, wait a minute, what? And it doesn't really go on in the first book about it. Basically, this Ethan, you know, he's a pureblood, and he helps makes her weapons and keeps her house safe or whatever. And during one of these nights, a guy from the Luna cult comes to her with a note. And so she basically goes to this Luna cult. The Luna cult are purebloods that worship werewolves. They shave their heads, and they have like a moon symbol on their foreheads. In this particular Luna cult, they do have a couple werewolves in their midst, and she meets with a werewolf that also has the use of magics. And at first she doesn't know who he is, but she does know who he is after he like takes his hood off and everything, and actually talks to her about everything. And his name's Jonathan. And I have a feeling they have a partnership throughout the, you know, at least in the next book. I have a feeling that he's probably going to call on her again. Anyway, his problem is their alpha, or one of their, you know, werewolves, I believe he was the alpha, got captured by a vampire house. And he wanted her help, because she's also goes by the name Lady Death, because of course she kills, you know, her own kind and werewolves and whatnot. And he asks for her help to get him back. And she agrees to this because this vampire house is willing to turn werewolves into half-breeds, basically, where they're vampire and werewolf. But they want the Luna cult to make their house stronger, to go up in the ranks. Of course, not everything goes according to plan, and yeah, it goes to hell in a handbasket quite quickly once they get into the house. I did like Jonathan. Jonathan, she knows from a previous vampire house where he was a werewolf slave. And she thought she killed him because she cut off like half, like the side of his head. But obviously he did not stay dead. And yeah, but he's like basically kind of forgiven her, and now is asking for her help and actually thanks her because of how it's changed him, because now he doesn't want to be just a slave underneath a vampire. He wants to be like their own werewolf house, like Luna House or whatever. And so I don't know how that's gonna, like I said, that doesn't get mentioned too much in the book, just like kind of some backstory for it. And I don't think I really said any too big spoilers. I kind of skirted around them. But in all honesty, this was a pretty good book. Like I said, I will continue it probably later down the road if I have no other series that I'm reading at the time. Of course, my bookshelves are just full of series, so that might be a while. I didn't find any problems with Kat Redding's character, and that a male wrote a female character. She was pretty. Like I said, she did question whether she was becoming too monstrous or not. He could have toned that down a little bit and maybe did some other feelings other than just that one, but because you don't really get any other feelings other than she's worried about that. And of course, she has her moral obligations where, like, with the people she doesn't want to leave in battle and whatnot. But that's kind of how Underworld was until she met, until she met her guy. And maybe she hasn't met hers yet. Like I said, at the end, there is a hint of something, like a caress of the hand. But it's not too much, but it leaves you wondering if something goes on. And for a first book, it's just, dipping your toes into the pond. You don't get too much other than a lot of backstory, a lot of world building, and this main plot of the book. It's the second book that really, I think, the second book that really, flushes out your character, and you start to learn a little bit more about what makes them tick. The first book is hard for sometimes for you to get all that into just one book. Some writers do really well with it, some it takes a little while. And most of the time I'm willing to at least read 2 books by the author to see if it gets any better. Sometimes, like I said, this one wasn't that bad. I've read worse books. So, like I said, I probably will continue with the series if and when I get to it. I think that's all I have for this book review. The world, I would like to know a little bit more about the world. It just seems like the purebloods aren't really doing anything about the vampires taking over, or the werewolves for that fact. Basically, they're like, we'll live in the day and ignore it. I don't really find that too realistic. Just because, in most books, they would, humans would rebel against. And there are, she was a human vampire hunter. So I know there are other vampire hunters out there. You just don't meet any yet. So I'm hoping, if and when I do continue the series, that he'll talk a little bit more about purebloods and them fighting back. Other than that, yeah, that's all I got for this one. I will be having another book review up. It'll be about, or at least on my blog. I don't know if I'll have a discussion about it, but it'll be about The Porcelain Child. It's book 2 by Jessica Dahl. It's an arc. I'm not sure quite if I will have enough for a video review. But I will definitely have a review on this Blades of the Old Empire by Anna Gushina. I'll show you it. I do plan to start this by the end of this month. I have to. I've been saying, because I won this from the Goodreads Goodreads site, and I've had it for a little while, and I want to read this and write a review. I'll probably have a video review on this one. I just didn't want to start this one while I was reading the other fantasy book, Shadow's Edge, because I didn't know if I could read 2 fantasy books at once, because they have hard names to remember, especially with like towns and stuff. But I will start that soon. Other than that, the next one will probably be my June wrap-up and July TBR. Thanks for watching. Bye.